You are 41 years old. The apartment in Vienna doesn't exist on any lease you signed under your real name. The phone in your hand is not registered to you. The message on the screen has 11 seconds before it erases itself. The U.S. intelligence community moves $80 billion a year, and not $1 of it shows up on a payroll you have ever been handed. What follows is the architecture of that system, from the inside out. Level 1, the recruit. 9 months. Not waiting, being disassembled. They called your high school track coach. They found the roommate you cut off after sophomore year. They pulled tax returns going back to the year you turned 18, flagged a $200 cash deposit from March 2019 that didn't match your declared income, and wanted an explanation for a semester you failed organic chemistry. By the time you sat in a windowless room with a polygraph strapped across your chest, they knew the shape of your life better than you did. You are 23. You passed. 93 others didn't. 3 weeks later, the offer arrives. GS7. $46,000 a year. A classmate just took $134,000 from a tech firm in Austin. You sign. Then they hand you 47 pages of non-disclosure agreement and tell you not to ask about specific clauses. You sign that too. Someone outside asks what you do. You say, government. The first rule is already learned, not from a briefing, just absorbed. The system doesn't select the most capable people in the room. It selects the ones who will pay the entry price without asking what it is. $46,000 is the number on paper. Everything after that lives in no contract. Level 2, the case officer. The training facility isn't on Google Maps. The road to it doesn't appear on any navigation system. For 18 months, the address you sleep at does not legally exist. 6 months of classroom, the organizational charts of 4 foreign intelligence services, the career files of SVR officers who ran American assets through the 1980s, the 11 documented cases where U.S. officers were burned, and what the first mistake looked like in each one. 6 months of physical and operational. By the end, you can reverse a car at 40 miles per hour through a lane barely wider than the vehicle. A standard deadbolt takes you under 90 seconds. You can recruit a stranger in a single bar conversation because you failed it 29 times and finally understand in your body why the 30th works. Salary GS11, $69,000 a year. A McKinsey analyst 2 years in earns $112,000 and has never slept in a building that doesn't officially exist. Your first asset is a foreign ministry official, 44 years old, Eastern Europe. He receives 3,000 euros a month. He believes he's working for German intelligence, a belief you constructed over 7 months, one conversation at a time. Every meeting is 22 minutes to reach the site. You walk a 4-hour surveillance detection route, jacket changed twice, 3 streets doubled back, reflections checked in 6 shop windows. He goes home and tells himself he's a complicated man doing necessary things. You go home and write a cable that lands in Langley by 3 a.m. Somewhere in the past 7 months, the line between engineering trust and actually having it stopped being visible. You don't look for it anymore. What replaced it is the ability to read every person in a room within 4 minutes of walking through the door. That switch has no off position. You will carry it the rest of your life. 3 years in, your face begins turning up in files you're not cleared to see. Langley decides you need to disappear. Literally. Level 3, the deep cover officer. You are not a diplomat anymore. The Cover is a logistics consultancy headquartered in Dubai, 34 employees, 11 years of tax records. 3 genuine corporate clients in the Gulf. Every detail is real except the reason it exists. 6 people on Earth know what it actually is. You are one of them. GS13 Plus Hardship Allowance, $112,000 a year. It reads like a raise until you try to rent an apartment under your real name, apply for a credit card, or explain to a hospital intake form what you do for work. The $2.3 billion that moves annually through black budget line items for deep cover operations doesn't appear on any document you will ever be permitted to read. You are one of the line items, untraceable by design. The woman you share a home with is not your wife. She is another officer running a parallel cover. Same lease, same fabricated in-laws, same neighbors who believe you both sell shipping insurance. Something like affection develops genuine, inconvenient, and completely unusable, because honesty with her would compromise both operations simultaneously. Your mother hasn't heard your real voice in 4 years. Holidays. You call from a sanitized line. You tell her work is fine. You tell her you'll visit soon. One night, you go to write your own name and realize you have to think about it. You get a piece of paper and write it slowly, studying the letters. Then you burn it because you burn everything. The system didn't take your identity in a single transaction. It took it the way compound interest works in reverse, invisibly, incrementally, until the original balance is gone and you're not sure when it happened. If you've stayed with this until here, this channel was built for exactly the people who do. Subscribe. The analysis continues. 9 years in the field. Your body starts sending signals Langley decides to listen to before you do. You're pulled back to headquarters. This time, you're not the one walking out the door. You're the one deciding who does. Level 4, the Chief of Station. You are 38. 60 officers, several hundred active assets, an operating budget that clears $40 million annually. GS15, $143,000 a year, and for the first time in 15 years, the number looks like it might reflect what the job actually costs. It doesn't. A Tuesday in October, one of your officers is arrested mid-meeting in a city you will not name in any cable. The asset is taken at the same time, within 6 hours. 2 separate channels confirm the asset is being held in a facility outside the capital. You don't write tortured. You write under duress. Everyone who reads it knows exactly what it means. The next 11 weeks run through 3 simultaneous back channels, Vienna, Geneva, and a third city that appears in no official record of the negotiation. Your officer comes home in week 11. The asset doesn't come home. That night, you write a letter to the asset's family. 3 hours. You cannot send it. The family has no official knowledge of what their son was doing for the last 4 years of his life. The letter goes into a safe in your office. You will not open that safe again for that reason. What the job gives you in exchange, the capacity to make a call on 40% of the information required with full accountability for the outcome and nothing showing on your face. That is not a professional skill. That is a permanent alteration to how your nervous system is wired. Your wife signs the divorce papers first. You sign them at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday at your desk between 2 incoming cables. At 10:10, you walk into a meeting about an unrelated operation. No one in the room notices anything. That is not composure. That is what 15 years of this work produces in a person. $143,000 is what the system pays you. The actual cost has no budget line. Then one morning, an email from Langley. Not a promotion. Not a new assignment, a name and a phone number. Level 5, the Singleton. The name connects to a program that doesn't exist in your personnel file. No station, no handler in any conventional structure. No defined chain above the 6 people who know the program is real. Singletons operate alone, sometimes 3 to 4 years between any direct contact with headquarters, in places where the presence of any backup at all would end the mission before the first meeting. Your target is a senior government official in a country that is neither allied nor hostile. Nobody has reached his inner circle in 7 years. They give you a budget, an open timeline, and 2 words: figure it out. You spend 4 months building a new identity in a third country. You buy a small import business for legitimate travel cover. You learn the language until locals stop adjusting when you walk in. Then 14 months cultivating 9 people who orbit the target: his secretary's brother, his tennis instructor, the owner of the restaurant where he eats lunch every Thursday at 1:15 before you sit in the same room as him once. The first conversation is 12 minutes. Football. You don't see him again for 6 weeks. By the 8th meeting, he knows your name. By the 15th, he's a friend. By the 30th, he's telling you things his wife hasn't heard. The intelligence he generates over the next 6 years reaches 3 different directors. He dies never knowing you were American, believing, to the end, that he was helping a friend. You attend the funeral and cover. The tears are not performed. You loved him in some way that was real and operational at the same time, and you gave him instructions that got him killed. Both of those things are equally, permanently true. That night, in a hotel room, you understand something about the Singleton program that no one briefed you on. It doesn't appear in your official record. The retirement structure runs through an off-book retainer that 4 lawyers in the general counsel's office spent 11 years making technically legal. The system doesn't need you intact. It needs you functional. For most people, the distance between those 2 things is where the self goes. If you've made it here, this channel exists for exactly the people who keep watching. One subscription keeps the structural analysis running. Come back. You think you've seen the whole system. You haven't. The people who actually extract value from it have never held a cover identity, never written a letter they couldn't send, never stood at a graveside and meant it. The same week you signed divorce papers at your desk, a man named Marcus signed a new contract at the Booz Allen Hamilton office in McLean, Virginia. He is 38 years old, 6 years as a case officer. Then he walked out. No cover identity, no assets, no letter in any safe. He has never spent 4 hours on a surveillance detection route to reach a 22-minute meeting. Never written a cable at 3 a.m. about a man being held in a basement he couldn't name. Marcus gets to the glass office building in Tyson's Corner at 8:30. He sits in a procurement meeting with the Department of Defense team reviewing an intelligence analysis platform, signs a timesheet, leaves at 6. Orders food through an app. Weekends. He hikes. Marcus earns $340,000 a year. That is $197,000 more than your GS-15. No indefinite NDA. No suppressed credit file. No asset whose death traces back to a decision he made. What he has is a TS/SCI clearance, the same clearance the system spent $500,000 to build and issue when he was 26. He now sells access to it at $450 an hour across 3 separate defense consulting contracts. Revolving door clearance. Fully legal, documented, structured to be exactly that. The intelligence community runs on $80 billion a year. Roughly 30%, $24 billion, exits through private contractors. People like Marcus carry no accumulated memory of what the system extracted from them. No moral weight from 15 years of decisions made in rooms without windows. They carry clearance. And clearance, it turns out, is the most liquid asset in the entire structure of American power. You spent 15 years becoming the system's most valuable instrument. Marcus spent 6 becoming its most efficient creditor. You are 58. Back porch of a house in a small town, whiskey in hand. The phone rings. The voice uses a phrase you haven't heard in 12 years. The protocols engage before you decide to let them. Tomorrow, somewhere, a person in their mid-20s will walk into a federal building for the first time and sit down for a polygraph. They've read everything available, rehearsed every answer. They believe they understand what they're entering. They've never heard of Marcus. They don't know that the most profitable position in the system is not the deepest one. The cycle doesn't continue because the system needs them. It continues because they haven't seen the map yet. This channel doesn't tell you how to win. It shows you how the game is actually built. Subscribe if you want to keep looking.